Hello everyone, welcome to the Quilted Story, where every quilt tells a story narrated by you through fabric and thread. My name is Kathleen and I am a professional quilt instructor and embroidery educator. But at the end of the day, I'm just a girl with a sewing machine, and sometimes I get lucky and make something fabulous. My channel is all about quilting, machine applique, and machine embroidery. And I'm hoping that you will find something here today on my channel that will inspire you to get that sewing machine out or that embroidery machine out and make something fabulous just for you. So let's get started with the program today. It's going to be the second half of my patriotic projects that I've made over the last few months or, in the recent years. And I'm hoping that it will inspire you, like I have said, to just make something today. So let's get started. The first project that I want to talk to you about is machine embroidery. And it is this really cute USA machine applique. The embroidery design is an embroidery applique design, which means it involves fabric. It is originally from the Itch to Stitch design firm, but it was recently sold to another design firm called designsbyjuju.com, and I'll link all that information down below so that if you like this design, you can go to her website and purchase it. But what I did here was I just did a simple applique, and I did it once again on that 25 count opalescent Lugana, and I stitched it directly through the warm and natural batting that I had loaded onto my frame. And then each piece is a piece of applique that is set first. You trim it down and then you run it through the satin work, which is the outside satin stitching. And then what I did was I just double mounted it. First I mounted it on a piece of sticky board, and I get all my sticky board from Fat Quarter Shop because I love that product. I then covered a second board with a second sticky board with a piece of really pretty red batik. And I like using batiks because they're very crisp and they're easy to press and they're easy to trim around if you're using them in an applique. But in this instance, I just used it for covering that the second board from the sticky board. So then I just mounted it on this. This is just an easel type frame, and it's plain underneath here. I've got it secured with hot glue, and so I can't take it off. But and I think I bought it. I bought it at Home Goods in their frame section, and those are usually fairly inexpensive. But it's a great way to display something because it does have the easel. So, and then I just added a simple bow, and let's face it, Kathleen is not very good making bows, but I do try. So I have made a simple bow here, and then I added this little, it's a sparkly star. It's kind of made out of foam, and I bought that at Hobby Lobby, and I wanted to show you how they come. I bought a whole couple packs of them, and I put them in this little jar that I got at Hobby Lobby also, and that kind of sits next to that that picture of the USA. And what it is it's a separate, let me get a red one. They're just little picks like, and it's really just that foam star is stuck on top of this stick, and I just pulled it off, and then I hot glued it right to the center of that bow, and then that way it hid a multitude of sins going on with that bow, which is happening with all of Kathleen's bows. So it's just a way to do it. Just a little tip there. And I think it turned out pretty cute. And like I said, I combine it with this little guy. Can you see that? And I put that on my counter for the patriotic holidays during the summer. I like to decorate for the red, white, and blue patriotic theme starting in mid-May, and I leave it all the way up until the first part of September, and then I switch over to Halloween and fall. Mostly because I don't know how else I'm going to decorate during those months, and I like to leave it. Putting up all my decorations is kind of a little bit of a chore for me, so I like to leave it up just a little bit longer than most people probably do, and I just love the way it makes my home have that happy feel. So that's just a tip that I can pass on along to you. Now the next project that I did was I'm going to be looking at my notes because once again Kathleen can't stay focused here on what I got. I got a mess of things on the table here, and I want to make sure that I cover them all. The next thing is my table mats, and once again I used, let me see if I go back a little bit further. I used the same red, white, and blues that I had showed you last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess it's been, that I used for my placemats and my table runner. And I like to use the same colorway of the red, white, and blues. And I picked a main print, which is the same one from the back as this plaid. And then I pulled some reds and some blues of different tones and different patterns, and then I just did these little strippy 2 patches, and this is not very big. I use this set on point on my foyer tables. I have one in the front of the house and one on the back of the house, and a lamp sits on it, so I set it on point, and it's just enough to bring color to the table. So this is only like 14 inches square. There's a 7 by 7 set, and each block finishes off like at 2 inches. So it's fairly small, but it gives you a real color, a play on color. And that's what I was going for, was that red, white, and blue play on color. So that matches my pillow, my table runner, my placemats. So that's what I did. I made 2 of those, and I really, really like these. And I just self-bound this one. Instead of doing a separate binding, I cut the back of it larger so that then I can bring the backing to the front and what they call self-binding. So that's a fairly simple technique, and I still miter the corners like I would on regular binding, and it works out pretty well. So I like it for these small type of projects, and I've even done it on some of my placemats if I'm trying to do something quick and have a faster end result. So like I said, I made 2 of those, and I just love those little things. You just can't have enough quilts laying around your house. That's my theory, but do what you want. It's your home. So that's the second item. Now the third item that I did was my basket full of pillows. And what I did was I bought this basket at Hobby Lobby 150 years ago. So you're not going to go to your Hobby Lobby and find this, but I'm sure they have something equally as cute. So you could find a dough bowl, or maybe just a regular bowl, a patriotic bowl, something that's red or blue. Even a striped bowl would be really cute. And I filled the bottom with some paper so that all my goodies just sat on the top, and I didn't have to fill the whole, that whole basket. But mine's a basket. It has a lid, and it actually does shut, and it has a handle. But what I did was, let me set this down and I'll pull the pieces out. I introduced 3 new paper piecing patterns on my Etsy shop, and so I made them in Patriotic, and I've also, will show them to you later in the show, that's done in like rainbow colors, like a purple and orange and green, and those basic rainbow bright colors, so you can get a different feel like what it would look like. But the first one is called Squares on Point, and I just did it in the red, white, and blue, the same red, white, and blues that I've used prior. And I just did a little tiny pillow. It's not really tiny, but small pillow. And there again, filled it with rice because I'm not going to use it as a pin cushion. If I was going to use it as a pin cushion, I would fill it with crushed walnut shells that I get at the pet store. And that's just because every single time you put your pin or your needle in that pin cushion and it hits that crushed walnut shells, it will sharpen the pin or the needle. And that's like a win-win situation. So remember that if you're making it a pincushion, use the crushed walnut shells, but if you're not, just use some cheap rice, you know, and then you can put it in your microwave and heat it up and use it as a hot pad. So win-win situation. So that one is called, I'm losing my train of thought. I think it's called Squares on Point. Okay, so that one's a lot of fun. The next one is my pineapple block, and I did it in the same colors, red, white, and blues. And I made that also into a small pillow, and then I filled it also with rice. So that one's my pineapple block. And then the last one, no, this one, let's go back to that. This one is called Frames on Point, okay? That one's Frames on Point. This one is my pineapple. And this one is Square Frames, okay? And they're all paper piece. They're all available in my Etsy shop. I'll link all of that below so that you can visit me there. I did the same thing, the same colors, same fabric lines basically, and filled it with rice also. And then last week I showed you my new pattern called Triangle Log Cabin. And I took 4 of them and made this larger pillow. So that's like the main pillow in that basket, or that basket. And use the same fabrics and use this Triangle Log Cabin pattern and filled it with rice, so that all of my patterns, or all of my little pillows, fit in this basket. And then I just set this on my foyer table. So when you come in my front door, you'll see this along with this little guy under the lamp that's on that table. So that's just another way to decorate with your quilts without making a huge quilt. You can do something small and fill up a bowl with these little pillows. You can do them, you know, you could do the same pattern and do several of them, and, you know, just change up the fabric colors, and that'll give you a whole different look. So that's the next item. The fourth item that I made was, I'm also a cross stitcher, and I do a lot of handwork. So I have these in my Etsy shop. So if you're interested in those, you can come take a look at those. These are called quilted project bags. And here's the big one. And they're fully lined. And I quilt mine. That makes mine a little bit different than most people who make project bags. I quilt mine, and I also add the bottom and the sides that are stabilized fabric. And the reason why I like that is because it gives the bag a little bit more structure. So once you add all your stuff in there, your cross-stitch stuff, or your paper piecing, your hand paper piecing that you do, the English paper piecing, once you add all that stuff in it, it doesn't get all distorted and weird on you. And my project bags are 12 by 15. And they are self-bound, and I use a heavy zipper, and I also use the heaviest vinyl because it just makes a sturdier bag. That's the main one. And then I make a smaller one, and that's for all your little bits. For like your floss, your needles, your scissors, maybe you have a couple clips in there, and if you have a small pattern, you can even stick a small pattern in there. I make these for my daughter-in-law, Kelly, also, and sometimes she does some small projects, and she just puts everything in one of the little ones, little project bags. And then, or you can put all your bits in there, and then that'll fit inside your big bag. See? And then you'll have all your stuff with you. I like to keep my stuff organized. I know, it's hard to believe. But I also make these are like little floss keepers. And I also make some that fold in half and snap shut. So if you want to, you know, you put your extra floss on there while you're working on a project, and then some of mine snap shut, so you can, it's like a floss book, so you can keep everything organized and tidy when you put it back in your bag, and you don't have that mess to worry about it flying all over the place. I also made another set in that same fabric that I used in my other projects. So if you're interested in project bags, just check out my Etsy shop, and I'll link that down below also. so let me get this out of the way. And the next project is I just made this past week, and it is a Patriotic Banner. And I hang this up on my front room fireplace mantle. And what I did was, if you look, the bigger banner piece is actually pieced with 4 different fabrics and then cut out. And then the smaller one is just a main print. And then I cut my own binding for it. And I did not cut mine on the bias. I felt like it didn't really need it. It didn't need to curve that much. So I just cut it on the straight of grain. And then I cut it just like I would a regular binding, except for I cut it at 2.5 inches wide. And then I just encapsulated the little panel pieces into it. And it ends up being like 72 to 80 inches long, I think. I made it pretty long to fit my mantle. You would make it, whatever size, but use the same fabrics that I use in all my other stuff that I have shown you. So that's just some other way to use up some of your scraps. Now, speaking of scraps, I have been keeping all of these fabrics together, organized in my little shoebox, because I'm a containerizing freak. So what I did was, every time I, pulled a fabric from my main fabric source on my shelves, and if I used it in any of these projects, I went ahead and stashed the extra little, pieces that were left over in this shoebox. And as you can see, it is overflowing. So I probably need a bigger box. But that way, if I want to make something like, a scrappy something or whatever, like when I went to make this, the banner, I just pulled out this box, and that way I had all those fabrics that were used in those previous projects, and they were all at my fingertips. So I just pulled that out and started seeing what I had and how big of pieces I had. So that's the way I organize stuff, especially if it's something that I'm going to maybe go back to later or repeat it in the future. So that's just the way I do it. So a little tip there. But these little shoe boxes are like 99 cents, you can get them at Walmart and Target, and I think you can even get stuff like that at like Hobby Lobby and Michael's and stuff like that. And I've bought them over the years, and I just like the ones that have the snapping lid on it, so that it'll kind of keep everything organized and like more controlled. So that's what I do with all the leftover scraps. Now, my next thing I want to talk about are those 3 new patterns that oh, wait a minute. Do you see what I forgot to talk about? It's in the bag. That is my American Dreams flag quilt that I actually designed 15 years ago. I made the original quilt for my sister, Angela. And we do a thing in our family, and it's called the sister draw. So every year, right after Christmas, you will get a name of whoever's in it. It's a sister or sister-in-law or a daughter-in-law in the family, or even your daughter. If you got married and you have a daughter, she can then be part of it once she turns 18. So you pick a name, and the only requirement is you have to make the gift for the following year. So when you pull your name in December, you have to make a homemade gift that then you'll give to your person's name on your card. You will give them the gift the following year. And one year I had my sister Angela's name. I've had my sister Angela's name several years, because we've been doing this for about, I want to say it's close to 30 years. And I actually got the idea from an episode a long time ago I seen on TV. And I just thought it was kind of cool that the gift was made. And it doesn't matter what you do. You could be a quilter or a cross stitcher or a knitter, or maybe you crochet, maybe you paint, maybe you pencil draw, maybe you make cards. There's all kinds of different hobbies you could you know, make ornaments, whatever you want to do. And it doesn't matter, there's no requirements there. It just has to be handmade by you. So, like I said, go back to the original story, was that I had my sister Angela's name back about 15 years ago, and she is all about Americana. So I knew that I needed to design a quilt that was a replica of the American flag. And before you even bother counting, there are 50 stars and there are 13 stripes. So I wanted to make it as accurate as I could to the American flag. It was a true labor of love. I love this pattern. It is probably one of my most favorite patterns that I have written. And like I said, I made that original one for my sister Angela. And after it left my home, I just could not bear not having my own. And it took me several years until just recently did I make one for myself. So I just love it because it's got all the different reds and all the different creams and whites and even the lighter golds. And then I use those same, if you look at those, the same ones I used for the cream and white section, I use those to do the applique stars. Those are 50 small applique stars. And they're made to be slightly wonky, so they're not supposed to be perfectly straight like on a regular American flag. However, they give that old-fashioned look, and that's what I was trying to achieve. Now for my sister Angela's, when I finished hers, after I quilted it, I bound it, and I split the binding so that there was blue binding on the blue section, and then there was red binding along the rest of it all the way around. That was a little tricky to figure out, but I did figure it out. And it worked out nice. I really love the way it turned out. However, I am gonna finish mine in a different way. This is just the top. And I'm gonna finish mine a little bit different because I just want it to be something that would suit my home better. And so when I get that finished, I'll bring it back on and show you how I did it. So anyway, that's my big one, and you can read all about her on my website, because I did blog about her when I actually designed and wrote the pattern back, like I said, about 15 years ago. I want to say it might even be 17 years because I want to say it was 2005. I think so. So if I do the math correctly, right? Yeah, 2005. Okay, I'm really old. So anyway, check that out on my website. I'll link that down below so that you can visit my website and read all about her. So it'll be the perfect Americana story behind that one. So the next thing I want to talk to you about, since I've discussed all my patriotic stuff, is I want to talk to you about my new patterns that I have just recently uploaded onto my Etsy shop. And that is the new patterns. This one is called Frames on Point. Okay. And I did this one in I do believe I did the 5-inch size for the sample here, but this pattern comes in 3 sizes, 5, 6, and 7 inches. It also includes the fabric recipe cards, like I include on all of my foundation paper piecing patterns on my website. This pattern is a lot of fun. I mean, it's a great way to use scraps, and if you do the 5-inch size, the scraps don't have to be that big, so you can whip these up in just, you know, it's just, they go really fast. They really, really do. And look at how much play on color there is there. So check that one out. That one's called Frames on Point. So that's the first one. Now the next one is called Square Frames, and I just have them pinned on my design board. And these ones I do believe are the 5-inch also. Okay, and same thing, play on color. And if you go to my website and you look for this particular, either my website or you go to my Etsy shop to look for this pattern, I also made a quilt with using these blocks, these colored blocks. And the quilt is called My Box of Crayons. I made it for a new baby being born to our circle of friends. So it is a very, very fun block to do also, and great way to use up your scraps. So I did his called My Box of Crayons, and it's all in the primary colors like you would see in a box of crayons. So check that out. It is also on my website, so you can read all about it there. I even did a couple posts about how I quilted that particular quilt, because I did quilt that one myself, and basically go through the step-by-steps on how I did that. And that one's called My Box of Crayons on my website. The pattern is called Square Frames, and it is in my Etsy shop. So check that one out if you are a paper piecer or want to become a paper piecer. Okay, the next one, that's the third one. This one is my pineapple block. This block I designed using these very same colors and a couple more. I had a total of 7 color fabrics. There also is orange and blue, and what is the other one? Orange and blue and pink? No, I got pink. Orange and blue and I don't know. Red. Orange, blue, and red are also done in the same block. And I designed a quilt about 15 years ago, and it is called Living in Candyland. And there's a cute story about it on my website. I use this block pattern. When I made that quilt, I used the 7-inch size. This also comes in 3 sizes, 5, 6, and 7 inches. And it made a really nice quilt. It really did. And I used the 7-inch for the main body of the quilt. And then I used, in the 4 cornerstones of the quilt, I used the 5-inch. And you'll see that when you go on my website, or if you look at it in my Etsy shop, one of the pictures is the full quilt, so that you can reference it there. But there's a cute story about how this quilt came to being made, and it's about my son. So you'll go ahead and read about it. It's kind of funny. So check that out on my website, and check it out on my Etsy shop. And like I said, I'll link those down below so that you can reference them later. So those are my 3 new patterns that I just released this week. And the next thing I want to talk to you about is my haul. So I just got a few new things, and they're patriotic. The first one is the jelly roll, and this is called Land of Liberty by My Mind's Eye for Riley Blake. And I just got the jelly roll. I bought it from a lady on Etsy, and if I can find her shop, I think I can, I'll link it down below. She was great to work with. So but I love that because it is that same Americana, as you can see, colorway that I use in all my patriotic decorating. So can't wait to use that. So that's, like I said, that's called Land of Liberty by My Mind's Eye for Riley Blake. So check that out if you're looking for something Americana. Remember, I had talked to you about last time on the last video that some of my fabrics were older and you wouldn't be able to purchase them. But like I said, they are always coming out with new fabrics all the time. So I'm sure you will find something perfect just for you. Now, the other fabric line that I bought is called, this one is called American Dream. And I got the Fat Quarter Bundle. It is 21 pieces of pure gorgeousness. Is that a word? Probably not. But it's 21 pieces. And this one is American Dream, and it is by Danny Mogstad for Riley Blake. Right? Yeah, for Riley. Okay, I know my fabrics. By Riley Blake. Okay, so there it is, 21 pieces, and there it goes into the darker, like I was talking to you in the last video. It does get a little bit darker, and then the lighter blues, the reds, and then more of like the tone on tones. I love this. It is just gorgeous. I can't wait to make something with it. But no matter how you look at it, it is beautiful. And I do believe this American Dream is still available. Because I didn't buy it too long ago. So, and I do believe you can still find some of this Land of Liberty also. So if you're looking for patriotic fabrics, there's two that I really like. I love Riley Blake, Moda Fabric Lines, Poppy Cotton. Gosh, there's so many of them. They're just, you know, there's so many great fabric lines. You just can't go wrong with today's new way of fabrics being printed. So just, you know, find something that you like, and if you don't want to buy too much of it, just get a jelly roll. And I'm sure you can find something fabulous to make with it. So, okay, so let's see. I think I have covered everything for today's show. So I'm hoping that you will, if you like my video today, maybe you can remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to be reminded when a new video is made. And just remember that at the end of the day, pull that sewing machine out. Do something fabulous just for you. And all the worries of the world will go away. So have a great day, and we're going to see you next time. Thanks, and see you later. Bye-bye.